Welcome to Blunt Advice, the short-form show that delivers cannabis industry insight and information in quick hits to help you operate your cannabis on a higher level. Here are your blunt hosts, Francesca and Mike.
So, we are really excited because we are about to head out this week to a new event where I'll be speaking. And we were looking at the calendar and oh my God, it is packed with events for the rest of the year.
Well, even in the next year, it's the cannabis community has really picked up the pace on events. There's some the old standbys, things like MJ Biz and Northeast Can and Canatech, and lots of events that have been going on for a number of years. Yeah, but there's a lot of new ones that keep popping up and new ones that we keep saying, let's get to that one next year. Let's get to that one, because you could fill your entire month every month by just going to events. And I think some people do.
Well, judging by how we keep seeing some of the same people at the events, we're like, oh my gosh, it's a lot because it can cost you a lot of money. So you want to make sure that whether you're investing that time, that money, or both, you know that you're going to an event that will actually pay off.
Right,
so
exactly.
We are here to give you some blunt advice on how to identify a good event and what to do to get the most out of that event when you do go.
Yep, this is going to be a fun topic. So let's start off with this. How do you even pick an event?
Yeah, it's hard because not only are there a lot of events, there are a lot of different types of events, from trade shows and a lot of different ways you can attend. Even a trade show, you could be a speaker, you could be an attendee, you could be exhibiting, you could be a sponsor. So you could be just going
all
to
the
the
above.
Networking, right? Not to mention some other different kinds of events like interchange, where you're actually going in a buyer-seller kind of style event. So lots of different types of events and lots of different events in different places to keep track of. So you need to get organized. You have to have at least a spreadsheet or a calendar.
Pro tip.
To make sure that you are keeping track of all these different kinds of events. And then you can start comparing dates and types and which ones will be the best for you.
That's what really helped us, for sure, is having that planning, especially for us and anybody out there that is doing, having a booth and a display. You need to get your booth from one show to another. And that's been a real challenge. It requires a lot of planning. Logistically is a mess with a lot of the transportation companies, and then you have to deal with the advanced warehouses or shipping direct to the show, and it can be a lot of headaches. And so it's something that there's some events we want to do that we had to not do because we knew we couldn't get the booth.
Because the timing of the shipping. Yeah, exactly. So calendars are important.
Oh, huge. Calendar's huge, but to get that calendar filled out, you have to really understand what your goal is for that show.
That's how you pick the type, right? Like you look at the different ones and you say, what am I doing here?
Yeah, what's the show all about? What am I trying to achieve by going there and spending the time, spending the money and to do the show? If it's to go just to learn, great. We've done that a lot of times. If you're going to network because there's people there you want to do business with, or people there that you know in the industry and you want to network, great. That should definitely be part of the thing.
Money well spent.
Yeah, it's a scouting mission. We do those sometimes. We send somebody out and just say, what's this look like? We may want to do this in the future, but before we spend $10,000 or $20,000 on a show, we're absolutely scouting that thing out.
Yeah, so you could also be going to actually make sales. So are you looking to make that money back, in whatever capacity, whether that's going as an attendee or an exhibitor, and you should be. So definitely make sure that you have a goal, because that's going to be the #1 thing that'll help you select the best events. And then right underneath of that is actually the making the money back. So you have to look at cost and you have to look at ROI of the event. So are you going to be able to get back what you spent, or maybe is it an investment, it's sort of sunk costs on a learning mission or a team building mission or a networking event, and you're hoping to make those connections to down the road you'll be making that money back, because there's short-term and long-term ROI on all of these events.
And above all, is it a fit? Is it a fit for your business, your service, your product, where you want to be in the industry next year? Is that event helping to get you there? I mean, that's what we really look at.
Perfectly said. You do all of that to pick the event, guys. That's just the picking the right event. And you want to put that effort in, because picking the right event can really pay off. So let's say you did it. You found the right events, you know when you're going, you know who's going. How do you get the most out of that event? And there's sort of 3 parts to this, because there's stuff you do before the event, there's stuff you do during the event, and there's stuff you have to do after the event to make the most of it.
you hit the nail on the head. And I think the one missing thing here for a lot of people is the pre-event work. People think the event starts when they get their ID, their badge when they walk in. We've been doing stuff for a month before an event, you know, in terms of knowing who is going, maybe send out some pre-event information, or try to set up some appointments, set up a breakfast, a cup of coffee, a drink, a dinner, like any of those things. That has to really happen before the event, because if you try to do any of those sorts of things during an event, you're wasting everybody's time, and everybody's already committed, and
that's
then
what I was going to say.
You're going to get somebody who really doesn't have time for you, and that's not a good feeling for anybody.
And it shows that you didn't do your pre-work, so it kind of gives you away as somebody who wasn't thinking ahead. And is that somebody that you want to do business with? Now, obviously things come up. Spontaneous fun is always a good thing. You can network spontaneously, but to get the most out of the event, plan to know who you're going to talk to. So definitely know who's going. Network beforehand. Reach out on LinkedIn and do some warm intros. This is a way to take a cold to a warm to a closed real fast.
Yep, absolutely.
So definitely pre-event. And make sure you let other people know you're going, because maybe you're the person that they want to contact. So new way of looking at it. So really, you can find out how kind of wanty you are by posting that you're going to this event, and then people can reach out to you. Or you look like kind of a boss because you're going to all these events. So
that always feels good too.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing that I think we didn't used to have to really plan that much for, that we do now in the current travel world, is getting to an event the day before. You know, assuming you're not doing a booth. If you're an attendee and you're just going, to travel day of is a big roll of the dice now, because air travel is so unpredictable with delays and cancellations. So there's nothing worse than, you know, all of a sudden you miss some of those appointments because your plane was late. So just get there the day before, get yourself rested, get acclimated so you can hit the road, hit the show at full speed when you're there, versus coming in off a long flight, dragging, you look flat, you got travel breath blasting people.
That airplane stink is on you. But no, you could be dragging ass because of the time change. I mean, there's a lot that you need to adjust to. So I love that we go a day early. It's an extra cost, but it's money well spent on
really
you and your well-being. So.
If you're doing a booth, now there's a ton of pre-event work if you're doing a booth, and we're not getting into that today. That would be the entire, that's probably another episode really, if you're doing a booth, because there's a lot there. But so let's move on. So now we did our pre-event work, we're feeling good, we get there the day before, we roll into the show at the event, whatever it's going to be, day of. What should I be doing?
We always have a plan mapped out. So we walk onto like the floor and we're looking around and we're like, I know, all right, we're gonna we're gonna divide and conquer, we're gonna go together, we already know who we wanna talk to, so now we're looking at who's grouped together physically on the floor. So you map out your actual plan of attack for networking or selling or whatever it is that you're doing there. And really, a lot of that is about not being shy. You know, we're all there to meet people, and so we're all there to network and do business together. So don't be a wallflower at these events. It's not going to help you. At the same time,
don't be that obnoxious person either.
Yeah, it's really obnoxious if you're just in your face too much. You are not the reason other people are there. So make sure that you don't act like you are.
And I think it's a matter of being respectful when you go to someone else's booths, in terms of like having some awareness that other people may want to talk to the person. And so it's one thing to take up some time, but know when to get away. Don't camp in someone's booth, in other words. Because we've had that in our booth.
Yeah.
And I remember, I thought Nick was going to come to blows.
He was going to use the chair the guy was sitting on to beat him.
But he literally, I felt like he should pay for half of our booth. He was there so long.
Yes.
So don't be that person. It's obnoxious.
There is a way to, don't overstay your welcome, because that is super annoying.
So you mentioned earlier having a plan. We always try to, like, if there's people we definitely want to see, we hit them first.
Right.
And try, because then if you have to go back, the person's not in the booth, you've got the rest of the show to get back to the booth and meet with who you're trying to meet with. But at the same time, you want to make sure you see the whole show. I mean, you paid to go there. We've run into some of our best things at a show, or things that we didn't expect, or booths we didn't expect to run into, or people we didn't know to meet. But it happened because we took the time, and we always just start one side and go to the other, left to right or right to left. And so, knock out the big dogs first, then make sure you get around and see the rest of the event.
Yeah, absolutely. And whoever you meet at these events, you know, if you're looking at them as a potential lead, that's great. You do want to make sure that you connect with them. At the same time, don't overpromise just to get the lead. I feel like people make this mistake all the time in just general networking and also in trade shows themselves, because it's just, yeah, it's like, dude, I thought you could deliver on something, and then the follow through going poorly is going to do more damage to you than the overpromise is going to do good for you. So don't do it.
Yep, great advice. And that is a nice transition into the third part of this, which is post-show. What do you do after the event? You get back to your office, it's Monday morning, Tuesday morning, whoever knows what. And sometimes it feels like it's a year ago when you were there, because you're blown out and you finally get home. Yeah, you get home. What's some things that we should be doing post-show? Because this is another area a lot of people don't do anything. Yeah,
they spend all this money, they get all these leads, they do all this time, and then they just let them die in the vine. And you don't want to do that. You need to have a timely follow-up. Whether that's a friendly call, a text, an email, or something more formal, a proposal, a question, a meeting, a Zoom, make sure that you follow through and you follow up in a timely manner.
Yeah, that's critical. And I like that you put that it doesn't have to be an email. It can be a text, it can be a phone call. It's whatever's kind of like the most best way to connect with somebody.
Right.
And I tend to want to ask people that at the show, if somebody is legit and they get a card or I get their card, I usually will say, is next week a good time to follow up? How should I follow up?
Yeah.
Because now I know. Now that when I'm following up, because what I'm trying to do here is like what we call clearing the bushes.
I was going to say that. Yeah. It's preemptively clearing the bushes.
And it's just getting rid of all the excuses and all the delays and all the BS. So if I know how somebody wants to be communicated with, and I know when they want to be communicated with, now if they don't respond to that form of communication, this tells me they probably weren't serious at the show.
Right.
So then I'll keep pounding away. I'll give it a couple more chances, but then I'll cut bait. I mean, I'm not going to chase somebody forever. If they're just show talking and big talking in the show and all that, like, fine, man. I don't want to waste their time, and I don't want to waste our time.
Yes.
So I clear the bullshit out of the way. Try to get to it. People that are serious, they'll respond.
They will. They will. Those are your real ones. And those are the ones that you start tracking to see, now they're in your sales cycle, and you need to know how long does it take to close with them, whatever that close means, a meeting, a purchase, a gig, a whatever. Make sure you know how many touches it took to have that transaction take place, how long it took, what rate you closed your real leads at, because that's going to give you information for next year. Is this a good show for you?
The ROI right there. So yeah, it's using data, methodical approach to really determine, was it a good show? Should we do it again? Not just, we had a great time. But,
unless that was the goal, then that's great.
True.
Yeah.
And I think the last one post-event is we always broadcast what we were doing at the show to our network, to our internal group. We let them know we were there, give some feedback, advice on what we saw, anything like that, so that now they know.
Yeah.
You know, because I love when people tell us they were at an event and it was really good because of this, that, or it was a ghost town. Now we know not to go.
Yeah.
So, you know, the feedback to your community, to your network, to your friends in the business, don't skimp on that. People love that.
Yeah, it's very valuable. We've all got to help each other out because no one grows alone. So we've got to make sure that we support one another. And it also helps you to make sure that you're out there, you're the thought leader, you're doing the work in the industry, and you're a person to be reckoned with and a business to do business with. So
well said.
Yeah.
All right.
That was a lot.
Well, we got it through.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's roll this all up and take a couple quick hits of this blunt advice.
Yeah. So first quick hit is make sure you do your pre-event work. You've got a plan. You got to have a strategy. You got to have a goal.
When you're at the event, make the most of the event. Have a strategy and a plan that you do beforehand, and then implement that at the show.
Exactly. And of course, quick hit number 3 is don't let those investments and leads die on the vine. Do your follow-up work in a timely manner after the event, and you'll be sure to track and see how successful it was for you.
Now we want to hear from you. Yeah. So we'd love to have some blunt feedback. So please email us at bluntadvice@infusedmedia.io.
Well, I'm Francesca.
And I'm Mike.
And in the time it took the Freeman Group to actually find your crate and then deliver it to the right booth, you got some blunt advice.